Welcome to Conversations with the ERC5. I'm Grace Speroni, and today I am delighted to have with me Tyler Hadley from DDS Acoustics. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Grace.
It's great to have you here with us today. And when I first met you, it was like, what do you do? And I didn't quite understand it. So if we can just jump right into it and share with our audience what it is that DDS Acoustical Specialties can do for them. Just give us an overview and then we can dive into a few other things.
Yeah, of course. So pretty straightforward is that we help people solve noise problems. We're a noise controlled company, and that means that we can help reduce echo in spaces, improve privacy, as well as noise safety in places like industrial manufacturing facilities. And we really do serve a number of different sectors and applications. Everything from bars, restaurants, to churches, libraries, schools, recording studios, kind of all the above. I mean, noise is everywhere, and people don't really. I didn't even think of
libraries. You're right? Everybody wants it really quiet in there.
Exactly. So pretty much anywhere that there's noise, I mean, people call us to see what kind of solutions there are, because it is one of those areas where it's very niche. People don't know a whole lot about acoustics or really who to talk to. So we're happy to be that resource for people to find those answers.
Okay, so we've all been in a restaurant where we can't hear the conversation that we're having with the person across the table from us because it's so loud in there. Like, how do you come in? Because I couldn't wrap my head around this at first, because I'm like, okay, so if the restaurant's already built, how's Tyler going to come in here and save the day and make this better? So how do you assess it? How do you determine what you can do?
It's a very common situation. In most of the times, I mean, we would love for every single building and space to be designed with proper acoustics, but the reality is that oftentimes acoustics is the first thing that's cost engineered out, and people are saying, why do we need that kind of stuff? And then they get into the space and say, oh wow, we have a problem. The restaurants,
that's the reality of it.
Right.
You're right.
So the restaurant situation and the loudness is really due to all the hard reflective surfaces. So if somebody has hardwood floors, sheetrock walls, and a concrete ceiling or something like that, then you're just having sound bounce off all of those reflective surfaces, and it builds up, and which makes it really loud. So then, in order to solve that type of problem, there are some calculations that we run to determine what the existing reverberation time is. The higher the reverb, the more echo and noise buildup there is in a space. And then you start to plug in some of these different types of acoustic material to say, all right, you need this much material to get it down to a 1 second reverberation time or a 1.5 second reverberation time. And this is how much of that material you need in that space.
So you don't have to knock down the restaurant or the manufacturing company, right? Because now we're all much more in tune to how some of these machinery and so forth, how those noise levels can impact our hearing and all of that. So that's where you would also come in, right? And create a better work area for employees?
Yeah, certainly. So when it comes to industrial manufacturing and like plants and places like that, yes, absorption is really key, because oftentimes you've got these big warehouses that are concrete floors and metal ceilings and things like that. So adding absorption helps to bring down the overall noise levels, but then we also address the machines themselves. So we talk about the differences between noise absorbers and noise barriers, which is what we kind of have at the end over here.
This over here.
Right. So we can build enclosures, custom enclosures around really loud machines, and keeping in mind that a lot of these facilities, they need to have appropriate access to the machines, ventilation, viewing, to make sure things are going properly. So we take all those things into consideration, and we can design custom enclosures so that around, like directly next to that machine, it might be a little bit loud, but outside of that enclosure, it's going to be quiet for the rest of the workers and employees to make sure that they're safe.
Yeah, and now they have a safer work environment, so you're taking care of a lot of things, which makes it a lot more cost effective.
Exactly. I mean, the way that we kind of pitch it to all these different industrial facilities is that you're saving money not having to buy protective hearing equipment for all these
Right.
employees if you're just kind of addressing the situation. And that's what we just call kind of engineered controls to these types of problems. Is we're engineering a solution that's going around the machines in the facility to reduce the overall noise levels.
And lessen the impact of all of that.
Exactly.
And with so many people now, we used to have these huge offices, and then folks thought after COVID, we're not having the huge office, or we're going to take that big open office space and create smaller offices or cubicles. How do you like give someone the privacy, I guess, so that I'm not sitting there on the phone and I'm hearing you over there talking to your client and it's all perfectly, clear, maybe a little too clear.
Sure.
Can you step in and help and assist with that when folks are looking to do that with their commercial spaces?
Yeah, there are certainly solutions for those types of scenarios. Again, the first step is making sure that the reverberation is low enough so that the noise just isn't building up in those spaces. And then when it comes to open office concepts and people in cubicles, the next solution would be to probably design some sound masking systems. So the speakers that generate the white noise or green noise, pink noise that you might have heard of is putting speakers throughout that environment so that it essentially covers up some of the noise as people are from one side of the room might be talking on a phone, so they can't hear the person on the other side of the room and things like that. So there are certainly other additional ways to help people do their job and help make sure people are comfortable and all the above.
That sounds so like what I do. No, I'm in one of those spaces where we have smaller offices. And so I can sometimes hear folks. So when I walk in, and even when no one's there, I don't like the silence of it either. So I'll put on music or find some sort of sound to just come in to keep me focused on what I'm doing. Because silence also doesn't work for me.
Right.
So is that something you can, well, you just said that, right? You can address that with the white noise?
Yeah, the sound masking systems that we use, they can be ceiling speakers, they can be kind of desktop speakers, they can be wall mounted, kind of whatever. There's all different types. I mean, they make them so that they can also be Bluetooth, so you can turn your music on in addition to just like having the static white noise.
Yeah.
It really depends on the preference.
I just focus better with a little bit of the right noise in the background.
I totally understand. I'm the same way. I'll throw in my headphones or something in the office.
It just kind of,
Exactly.
assists. So can you share with us like some success stories where you've come in and you've solved problems?
Sure.
And how have you done that?
Yeah, so I mean, just talking locally, I mean, we go all over New England, but locally, some successes that we've had is we've gone to the Ludlow Senior Center.
Yes.
They had a really big cafeteria where obviously people are coming in for lunch every day, high ceilings, and it was just echoey in there. It was boomy. So we went in there, did our calculation, proposed some additional noise control sound absorption panels that went on the ceilings, the walls. We also put some in their lobby area. So that really transformed the space. We did a project recently at the Provincetown Public Library out on the Cape, where on their second floor of the library, they've got a full-scale model ship and, again, high ceilings. So a bunch of clouds, direct panels on the ceiling, transformed the space where they had a kids area in one section and everyone could just hear the kids all the time, but with the additional acoustics, the kids are a little more silent, the sound's deadened in that space. And the coolest thing for us to always hear is that when after we do a treatment in a space and the people walk in for the first time, they're like, wow, holy cow, this is really different. And then they're just they're walking around the space and yelling, and they're like, yeah, you can't even like hear the echo. So it makes a huge difference. We've done the Donovan's pub, who they've recently moved to Holyoke.
Yes.
We did the Maple Leaf pub in Westfield with some foam panels on their ceiling, where they were a space where they had performances happening in the corner of the restaurant, and so they wanted to make sure that those performances were intelligible, people were still comfortable, and it wasn't just blowing people out of the water during those events.
You know, and what's so cool as you're talking about this is like I've been to the Ludlow Senior Center. We've done presentations there and so forth. And it's fairly new. And you're right, it's those high ceilings. They're beautiful and we all love them and they're great. But it does make for that sound level where then you can't hear anything in there. And I would imagine like in a senior center with people with hearing aids.
Exactly.
If they're getting all that other static from just, you know, people sitting around the table, that's really impactful to them and it makes it very hard. So something like this helps those folks who might have a hearing aid. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a senior. There are folks who wear hearing aids. And when you've got that noise level, you need DDS to come in and make things right.
Exactly. Yeah, and so in situations like that, I mean, we've also done a number of like office applications where for privacy issues, we treat doors, we treat like existing drop ceilings where a lot of times noise is traveling through drop ceilings and into adjacent spaces and people don't actually realize it. They think the sound's traveling through the wall, where it's like, no, it's actually going through the ceiling, like from one space to the other.
See, I think our viewers, like myself, have all experienced being out somewhere where the noise level is just a tad bit high, and we think, oh, if it could only just be brought down.
Right.
And you can do that with the products that you have and the services you provide. So for anyone who's watching, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you and see if you can't come out and help them lessen the noise level, make things a little more productive and a happier spot for folks?
So yeah, so people can contact us at 413-248-8118. They can also fill out a form on our website at ddsacoustical.com. Really easy. As soon as you get in touch with us, we typically follow up within 24 hours. And in some cases, we can even do some calculations as long as we get like measurements and photos and things of the space. We can do some of those calculations remotely without even having to go out to a site.
Okay.
But certainly for some of those like larger projects, we're always happy to go out and do an assessment on site, take our own measurements and make sure everything is exactly how we need it. But we're always happy to work with people, happy to be a resource, answer some questions, and design some great acoustical options that are not only going to be effective, but are also aesthetically pleasing. And I think one of the key things to remember is that this is it is an investment. It may not be the cheapest solution that you're trying to find, but I mean, there's varying different products available, and it really depends on kind of what is the budget, what do you want to see, and we're going to come up with the solution that you need.
And what are your long-term goals, right? Because this can help, again, just creating a better environment for employees, for people going out for entertainment, restaurant, whatever the purpose is, which if you can hear one another and you're happy with that, it brings folks back time and time again.
Right.
So at
exactly.
the end of the day, it's like, what are your goals? It's a lot easier than what I thought at first, that you've got to knock down the building and reconstruct. This is a little more cost effective.
Right, certainly. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tyler. It's a pleasure having you here with us.
Thanks for having me.
And I think this is great stuff. And it's good to know. And I appreciate your being here with us today.
Of course. Happy to be here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Grace.
And thank you for joining us for Conversations with the ERC5. If you'd like to be the next guest on our podcast, go to our website, ERC5.com, and you can sign up there and be the next guest here at Stonegate Studios in Wilbraham.